Front end itu prosesnya membuat segala sesuatu yang ada hubungannya dengan pengguna, tampilan pengguna, di mana pengguna bisa mengakses webnya.
Bangun portfolio sesuai dengan fokusmu. Nah, itu macam-macam ya.
Ketika kita implementasi growth mindset, itu benar-benar berasa banget perbedaannya. Karena
ketika kita berhadapan dengan data, the only way untuk kita bisa memahami data tersebut adalah ya dengan statistika.
Nah, sedangkan kalau hybrid itu yang bikin adalah orang lain.
Kolam penuh ikan, pasti ada ikan-ikan terbaik kan. Nah, cara kita menjadi orang yang terbaik, ya kita tetap learn, tetap relevan sama teknologi sekarang gitu.
Itu yang kita lihat adalah pengalaman dia itu apa aja, expertise dia di mana, dan apa yang diajari. Itu ya sebenarnya yang 3 hal yang kita lihat di resume.
Tips supaya kita bisa thrive sebagai perempuan yang yang kerjanya itu di bidang IT.
Halo semuanya, terima kasih sudah pada nunggu ya. Hari ini sebelum kita mulai aja aku udah lihat udah ada sekitar 20-an orang yang waiting. Thank you so much for the enthusiasm. Semoga kalian semua sehat-sehat aja semua, dan juga I hope you all are excited ya as I am untuk acara di siang hari ini. Hari ini kita kedatangan tamu yang super special. Dia ini bekerja di sebuah company yang saya yakin kita semua sini pernah at some point even menggunakan produknya. Langsung aja kita invite orangnya. Oke, selamat siang Pak Norman.
Selamat siang, apa kabar Peter?
Selamat siang. Looking very good ya Pak. Saya juga follow Pak Norman punya social media, and I can see that you're a very active person.
Yeah, try to stay active.
Ya, lumayan ini sih Pak, kayak break the norm ya. Kalau programmer itu, programmer biasanya kurus, nerdy, but I guess I think you're doing all a really good job for all of us.
I went through the whole cycle. I was skinny, I was fat, and now I'm athletic. So I've been through everything.
I see. Kalau aku dulu sempat fit, terus sekarang juga gara-gara PPKM dan juga pandemi, sekarang jadi I need to get back in the shape. Okay. I guess mungkin Pak Norman, mungkin Bapak bisa introduce yourself to the audience here today.
Okay, thank you. So first of all, thank you sudah diundang ke KotaTalks. Thank you Peter. So nama saya Norman. My name is Norman. I am CTO at DANA Indonesia. So hopefully you have used our app at some point, or if you're still using it, thank you very much for the support. We are serving more than 70 million users now. I hope you are one of them. And then I've been in the industry for 2 decades. I've been in startup environments. I've been in corporate environments. I've been in a startup that is not venture backed, startup that is bootstrap with 2, 3, 4, 5 developers. I've been in a startup that have like 100 plus developers, and now we are at around 400 plus engineers in DANA. So got the luxury to have all those exposure of different kind of companies at different size as well. And I spent about 8 years in Microsoft as well. Wow. So I get to have that exposure as well, working in this Seattle-based company.
Yeah, pretty cool. Actually, kayak sebelum acara hari ini, aku juga udah did a little bit of background research ya mengenai Pak Norman ya. And I think di sini, not many people know. Kalau dulu tuh, I think kayak Pak Norman juga awalnya mulai sebagai developer doang kan, Pak, kalau nggak salah ya?
Yeah. Started as a developer.
Yeah, wow. Then, I looked into some of your kayak beberapa past videos, and I could see that they're pretty technical gitu loh. Jadi mungkin Pak bisa diceritain nggak Pak, gimana ceritanya dari seorang developer lah kayak you and me, awal-awalnya bisa sampai leading, jadi salah satu tech leader di Indonesia gitu, right? I mean essentially you're the CTO of a company yang salah satu perusahaan terbesar mungkin dari segi fintech or even company general. So maybe Bapak bisa nggak ceritain gitu gimana perjalanannya dari seorang developer sampai jadi CTO di DANA?
Okay, thank you. So yes, I started my career as a software engineer, as a developer. So I work in a team, ada dev lead-nya. There are a handful of people in that team, writing lines of code, gitu ya. Jadi a spec was given to me by the dev lead, and then I just code based on the spec given to me. Terus back then it was a core banking system apps that I built in my first early days career, gitu ya. And then, I climbed up the career ladder. I became the dev lead, so I lead a handful of team members as well. And then I moved to another company to use a newer set of technologies back then. So I think it's 2002, 2003. .NET was so cool back then. So I moved to a company that are using .NET. Gitu ya. So I joined that company, also become a dev lead there, and then I developed some of the core libraries in that company as well, so that I was appointed as the architect in that company, and then the principal engineer, and I ended up become a CTO in that company. So that company, when we started, we only have like 12, 13, 14 developers, and then we grew up to more than 100 developers in that company, and I became the CTO of that company. And then I got an opportunity. I was invited by Microsoft to join their developer and platform team. And then, I joined Microsoft. I just want to have that experience to work in a company that built .NET. So not just using .NET, but the company that built .NET. And then I spent 8 years there working with usually the not yet released technologies. So I work with developer tools, programming language, libraries, frameworks that is not yet shipped in the market. So it's like very early alpha, beta thing. Build something with that, and then once the actual product is shipped, Microsoft already have some lighthouse case studies using this technology. So that's what I did in the developer and platform group in the Microsoft, and then the division's name is changed to become developer experience. And during my days in Microsoft, I got some friends that asked me to join him to become a co-founder in the startups that they build. So I joined a company called Loyalty Express. It's a marketing platform. It's a bootstrap startup. It's I think it's just like 5-6 team of startups. So 2 developers and then 1 designer, 1 project manager / sales / everything. So we did that, and then. I also joined a friend of mine, co-founding a B2B e-commerce startup. It is called Bizzy, Bizzy. It is still there today. So it's a VC-backed startup. It's a startup that is backed by venture capital. So we fundraise, pre-seed, seed A, pre-B, Series B, and then after the Series B. I decided I want to do something else. So I left the company, and then basically I spent sometimes several months actually, kind of like a sabbatical. I didn't do anything. I just chill and really look, reflect, what I really want to do in life, what I really passionate and really like to do, what kind of value I want to create, and what is actually the most important things for me. So it's kind of like those days. So I spend more time in Bali, in Singapore, in Bali again. So it's like really a chill phase. Try to reflect, and then I have discussions with several companies, several VCs for my next gigs, and then I found the team of DANA, and then I was like really attracted by what they're doing and the team that is there. So I was really, okay, this is the next thing that I really want to do. And then I joined DANA, and then we ship our version 1 of our app back then. And then we also grow our team. Now we are about 400 engineers now.
Wow.
And then we grow the user base, and I think by June last month, we passed 70 million user mark. So yeah, it's a good growth for a company that is 3 years old to reach that kind of user base. So, but we're still not even halfway to where we are going. So we want to really have all Indonesian that is connected to mobile internet. I think about 170, 180 million users to really be part of our users gitu. So yeah, that's the short story.
Wow, keren banget ya, Pak. I think there's a lot of things that we can unpack dari story journey yang tadi udah diceritain Pak Norman. Tapi mungkin sedikit tangent nih Pak. Ini kan di sini kan audiens kita juga banyak programmer ya. Di sini kita juga banyak developer, apalagi audiens Kota Kode itu banyak yang let's say awalnya baru join lah kecimpungan kita di dunia programmer. So kalau aku dengar dari cerita Pak Norman ini kan Pak Norman udah pernah kerja di sebuah tim yang tadinya cuma ada let's say 5 orang or even 10 orang, 11 orang, sampai sekarang udah ada work in a company with 400 engineers kan. Kira-kira dari segi codingannya, dari coding style ataupun dari code base-nya, apa yang kayak what is the biggest difference gitu antara kayak sebuah code base, sebuah repository dari tim yang 5 orang versus tim yang 400 orang gitu, engineer-nya?
Okay. I think it's not necessarily a function of team member, but more of a function of the company stage gitu. Jadi even though company-nya team membernya kecil, tapi company stage-nya udah like later stage, it has more similarities with other companies in similar state, even though mungkin company-nya ini have like hundreds or even thousands of engineers. So it's more on the maturity of the company itself. So yeah, so for companies yang like really early stage startups, bootstrap, pre-seed startups, so they are really in the journey of problem solution fit and during the customer development itu ya. Jadi they are still try to confirm whether the problem they're trying to solve is worth to solve and whether their solution really works to solve that problem. And then after that, they move to the product market fit, whether, okay, I confirm my solution really solved that problem, but will market really take my solution? Will more users use my solution? Will they even pay for my solution? And how big is the market? So once they pass that, then they can go to the company building, start adding more engineers, adding more other roles, and then after that, you do the scaling. So that different stages or phase more defining how the repo or the code base is different. In the early stage, the game is really about to ship fast as soon as possible. Sometimes maybe a bit dirty gitu ya. Sometimes the architecture is just so the point is to ship out fast to validate the app. So if you know the MVP, measure the shape, measure, learn thing, building a minimum viable product. So that is the focus. Ship it out first. Let user taste the app, use the app, and get their feedback, and then refine and so forth. Gitu. Terus from my experience, as well as from what I see even in the unicorns, there will be a point in time where the old code base will be scrapped and rewritten from scratch altogether. So look, Traveloka, Gojek, whatever, Tokopedia. So many companies. So it is very rare that the early stage code still be the core of their later stage code. So there will be a time when things will be revamped gitu. Dan when you are at a certain stage, let's say like DANA right now gitu kan, we will be more vigilant, really pay attention on architecture, really pay attention on how we build microservices, how we build messaging across distributed computing and so forth, security, because it's a whole different game now. Jadi I always tell my team, every line of code that you write, gitu, can make 70 million people happy or make 70 million people pissed off gitu. So you have that power gitu. Jadi the focus, attention, and everything will be very different gitu ya. Will be very hardcore in security. Will be very like paying attention on architecture, scalabilities. Yeah, scalability is it's a big deal. And one thing that programmer need to understand is that fast for single user, 10 user, 100 users is not the same as to be able to deliver a fast solution for 10 million, 50 million, 70 million users. So it's a whole different game. Jadi your coding skill sets, your algorithmic know-how may be useful for 1, 10, 100 users, but when you're reaching like hundreds of thousands and millions and tens of millions, there are other skill set that you need to master to be able to cope up with that kind of scale. Gitu. Jadi that's how it is different. So it's more on the maturity or the stages or the phase of the companies, and the engineering practices, team structure, and everything will follow that maturity of the business.
Wow, well said banget. Tadi ada satu yang benar-benar interesting banget tuh, yang every line of code can make 70 million users either happy or sad ya. Wah, itu kayaknya kalau saya jadi engineer, saya juga lumayan pastiin tesnya lu pas, pastiin best practice-nya udah achieve. Oke. Wow, interesting. Jadi ya, walaupun audiens kita di sini, saya rasa di sini kita semua punya cita-cita ya, satu hari kayak bisa jadi kayak Pak Norman gitu. Jadi ya mulailah kita dari sekarang mulai pikirin about kalau dari aku sendiri sih, aku juga kasih tahu kayak my other engineers kalau we write code bukan untuk kita sendiri, tapi tuh untuk like everyone else to read ataupun untuk many years to come, right? So we have to ensure that whatever code we write itu tuh it's fully thought out gitu loh. Jadi kayak no hacky solution, that obviously scale-nya my team is not gak ada proporsi sama sekali sama Dana, but we try to start somewhere. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And in the early stage, maybe one thing that we can put in mind is that we don't need to have like a golden plated design or something big upfront design, the whole architecture and everything, but you need to have in mind how your existing early stage architecture can evolve to a bigger, firmer architecture. So it's more on that. How you want to ensure that even though one day it will be revamped, not everything will be scrapped. So at least some of that can still be reused and carried forward in the later stage architecture. Gitu. Jadi that is the mindset.
Yep. Wow, great. Oke, kayaknya kita juga udah mulai. I'm trying to bring the topic jangan terlalu berat, soalnya aku juga tahu banyak audiens kita sini masih kayak beginner. Maybe we can have for some other time ya Pak. We can discuss about like the greater details. Jadi, let's try to rewind a few years back. Mungkin kalau untuk Pak Norman, programming language pertama Pak Norman apa sih? Dan what motivated you untuk awal bisa masuk menjadi seorang programmer gitu awalnya?
What programming language I use can really reveal my age. Yeah, so I think it was when I was in high school. I learned basic, so the old basic language yang ada lain 10, 20, 30 and so forth gitu, yang ada very dangerous keyword of go to. Those were the days. And then I ended up learning Pascal. So uses Turbo Pascal back then. And then in uni, still continue with Pascal. But then I studied physics, right? I did not study computer science for my bachelor. So in physics, we also did coding, but it's just different. It's a whole different bit. It's more on numerical analysis kind of thing. So how you solve mathematical equations using programming gitu. Jadi I end up using a lot of stuff like MATLAB, like Wolfram Mathematica. So more into those gitu. And then after that, I in my professional career, so I think I remember I used Visual Basic back then, and then also moved to .NET and spent a lot of time with C# gitu. So I think most of my time writing code is writing a C# code gitu. And then of course kan I studied to take my master juga di Comsci. That's where I did a lot of C++ gitu, mostly untuk doing the parallel computing and stuff like that, where we really take control of the processors and stuff like that. So I think those are the languages that are very close to me. So Basic, Visual Basic, C#, .NET, C++. And then, of course, I really like, like Wolfram Mathematica, how it is a functional programming language. I also like MATLAB, where every data structure is actually a matrix. So stuff like that. And right now in DANA, our backend core is Java. And then, of course, the client side is iOS, it's Swift, Android is Kotlin, Java, and then some web pages where we build with HTML and JavaScript. So, and then for some data science work, we have team that work with Python as well.
Okay.
Gitu.
Yeah. Kayaknya probably most of our audience, they don't even know most of the programming language that you were talking about. Pascal. Sekarang kan, I guess juga karena the rise of the internet ya, jadi kan obviously information is cheaper. Sekarang orang mau cari belajar programming juga bisa langsung, open YouTube tutorial udah banyak. Pasti zaman dulu kalau kalau zamannya Pak Norman dulu mungkin harus baca buku ya Pak. Kalau dulu mau belajar programming.
Books were the only source of learning. And then, but then the problem with books adalah books kan building up gitu ya. Jadi chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3. So we are building our skills. That does not really help us in troubleshooting gitu. Jadi whenever we have a bug, whenever we have an issues, and we want to know why or how, it's so hard to find which chapter is this, and most of the time even it's not covered in the book. And then back then I remember as well when we learned like internet is in the very early days, even the days before the internet. So when you're stuck, you're stuck. Gitu. You cannot ask around. You can only ask friends around you that are also as stuck as you. Gitu. While kalau today kan it's like very convenient. You have books, you have video tutorials, you have YouTube, you have Udemy, Coursera, whatever, and then Stack Overflow, and you can always googling anything gitu kan. Terus find answers when you're stuck. So it's actually easier these days on that aspect, but then also on the other aspect, the problem we are trying to tackle is also bigger and more complex gitu. Jadi it's not bahwa orang dulu lebih hebat dibanding orang sekarang, karena the scale and complexity of problems yang di try to solve juga very different gitu.
Kalau untuk saya sendiri, I realize at one point kayak ketika when as programmer zaman sekarang ya, kita tuh udah bener-bener reliant sama Google, Stack Overflow, tutorials. Itu tuh ketika pas waktu itu aku lagi balik dari Indo lagi balik ke Kanada. Terus aku lagi di pesawat, aku pikir, you know what, I'm gonna start coding for my skripsi kan. Kan di pesawat kan nggak ada wifi kan. And then I remember like the first hour I was like, you know what, ini kayaknya bukan ide bagus deh. So that was jadi itu ketika saya realize, oh man, kita sebagai programmer tuh kita lumayan dependent ya sama kayak Google. Well, tapi benar sih yang Bapak bilang ya, I think the scale itu beda ya. Sekarang aja contohnya kalau untuk DANA, I don't know how many transactions per second ya, yang sistemnya servernya harus bisa handle load-nya gitu ya.
Complete transaction per second, we are capable of doing 700. So when I say 1, 2, In that 3 seconds, we just book 2,100 transactions.
Gila.
Dan
Wow.
transaction is not query, but it's a complete end-to-end
End-to-end.
successful payment made. Because
Right.
if we talk about query itself, I think
Probably
our
more.
systems can handle about 23,000, 25,000 query per second.
Gila.
So
Wow. maybe I'm actually very interested, Pak. Mungkin kita bisa satu hari bisa ngobrol-ngobrol lagi gitu, bisa deep dive into sort of like scale-nya tuh perbedaannya apa.
Yeah.
Tapi bayanginnya bisa ada satu engineer gitu, dia taruh code yang I don't know somehow kayak nge-break sistemnya. Jadi downtime tuh bener-bener bahaya banget tuh Pak di Dana ya. Harus.
Yeah, that is why. So downtime can cause by incident yang happen in the production atau when we try to do deployment or updates gitu ya.
Yeah.
Kalau yang happen in the production, it's just how resilient is our team and our system to go back up again. But in terms of deployments or changes and everything, I think many people already know this. So we have more than one data centers, and then when we do deployment, we do a blue-green deployment.
Yeah.
So whenever we update data center 1, all users traffic will be routed to data center 2.
Yeah.
Data center 1 finish updated, all users routed back to data center 1, and then data center 2 is updated. Once both updated with the same version, then we will load balance again. So yeah, that is another practice, right? The blue-green deployment. And again, it proves that you can code, but coding is important, but coding is not everything. Actually, it's just a fraction, small part of the bigger part of the whole engineering to really build and run a system. Gitu.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. Okay. Maybe we can go back to the technical stuff later on. Tapi aku udah prepare a few questions. Wow, aku aja belum go through my questions. Okay, mungkin untuk Pak Norman ya, throughout your career, Bapak kan pasti udah pernah encounter ya, you've worked with, I don't know, we can maybe say even like you've met at least 1,000 programmers, you've worked with over 1,000 programmer ya. Mungkin common mistakes apa ya yang Pak Norman lihat yang sering dilakukan oleh junior programmer yang mungkin bisa menghambat karir mereka ke depan?
Okay. The biggest issue that I see is that they tend to value more or really focusing on mastering products and tools and language. Gitu. Jadi they're really in love and attached to the programming language, to the framework, to the libraries, and then they can really do a lot of tricks with those. But when they have to like drop all those, exposed to a whole new different language framework and tools and try to solve problems, they're kind of like, cannot really adapt. Gitu. So I think that is the biggest issues with more junior programmers, and even some senior programmers have that issues. Gitu. Jadi I think the mindset yang developers or programmers should really have is that they are actually a problem solver. Gitu. They are going to solve problems, gitu, and they going to solve the problems using algorithms, gitu kan, and then they need to define the algorithms. Once they figure out the kind of algorithms that they are going to implement, then they use programming language untuk express that algorithm supaya dimengerti oleh computers, and then they use libraries and tools and framework to make them productive, so they don't need to write everything on their own. They just use existing libraries and frameworks. Gitu. So that is the mindset. And then, whatever programming language, whatever tools, whatever framework, it doesn't really matter. Gitu. There is, best language, best framework, best tools for certain jobs, gitu. Jadi, let's say that there is a reason why the data science guys use Python and R, gitu. There is a reason, for really like parallel programming, people use functional programming, misalnya. Jadi we really need to have that view. Jadi bukannya bahwa I'm a Golang guy gitu kan, atau I'm a Swift guy. Terus jadi it will not help you in your career and really grow your logic, your algorithmic thinking, your problem solving skill if you're really focusing on a particular programming language or set of tools or framework gitu. Karena gini, programming language, tools, framework itu come and go. They are transient. Gitu. Ya. They are transient. While concepts like algorithms, object orientation, an example, terus design patterns, architecture, ini lebih long term and lebih fundamental. So if you are strong at this, it doesn't matter whatever programming language, tools, or framework that you use. Gitu. So I just want, like the junior programmers or even some senior programmers to really realize that. Gitu. Jadi sering kan bilang, wah ini jago C++, jago Golang, jago JavaScript. But in that particular language or framework or tools gitu, wah ini jago Angular gitu, but it's just tools gitu. Jadi I don't know. Think like in a military world. If you are a soldier, an army, you can use an AK-47, or you can use an M16, or you can use a gun, whatever. It doesn't matter gitu, karena soldier is a soldier gitu, sama developer, programmer, you're about problem solving and tools are just tools gitu. But the more generic, fundamental of using data, knowledge, logic, algorithmic thinking, problem solving is far more important than the programming language gitu. Kayak misalnya in the past mungkin C# was so cool back then gitu kan, tapi mungkin these days maybe not many people are attracted to use that anymore gitu kan. And then sekarang I don't know, mungkin Golang lagi naik daun gitu ya, some JavaScript doing Node.js. Tapi in 3 years, in 5 years gitu. Once upon a time, I think you've heard Ruby gitu.
Ruby.
So how many are still using Ruby now gitu kan? Not sure gitu. So but there was a time when this was the shiny new programming language. It was so cool. Everyone wants to do that. Gitu kan, ROR, gitu kayak. It's awesome gitu ya. And then, so akan ada masanya seperti itu. But then, algorithm is algorithm. Gitu. Design pattern is design patterns. So pay more attention on this, and you are good to go. Gitu. Disregard whatever trend coming on programming language, tools, and framework. Gitu.
Itu actually a very good point sih, which is, programming kan at the end of the day itu kan sebuah tool doang ya, sebuah tool untuk kita do something, ya kan? Apakah itu membuat aplikasi web, to build load balancer, apakah itu untuk membangun mobile app, right? At the end of the day, programming is just a tool kan, dan saya rasa itu adalah salah satu konsep ya yang sering dilupakan gitu oleh teman-teman di sini. I get countless questions kayak every week, kayak contohnya, Kak, bahasa pemrograman pertama apa yang harus saya pelajari? Dan kadang tuh orang tuh bisa sampai spend like weeks gitu untuk finding that one programming language to learn. Tapi I always tell them, kayak, you know what? I mean, most likely kamu ini akan terekspos dengan beberapa programming language anyways. Ya kan? Kamu harus bisa framework ini, bisa framework itu. So might as well just pick one and then just start learning the basic logic, the fundamentals, ya kan, algorithm data structure.
Maybe one tip to be efficient adalah mungkin you can look at job ads gitu dari company yang you really want to join. Misalnya you want to join unicorns di Indo, atau you want to join Microsoft, Google, Facebook, and so forth. So let's say if you want to join Microsoft or Google and the like, mungkin you really need to go to C++. Stuff. Terus if you're let's say in some unicorn, some other companies, just lihat aja gitu di job ads-nya. Usually mereka cari programmer apa sih? You can do that small research maybe in a day or two, and then you can do a tabular which programming language is more popular now, and you can just start and master those. So chances are when you really master those, you can join those companies that you want to join like easier gitu kan, karena the programming language that you are familiar with is what they actually use gitu. Jadi that can really help you. But then again ya balik lagi ke yang tadi mindsetnya bahwa ya udah master one and then open mind to learn the others gitu. And there is also the notion of different kind of programming paradigm as well. When you like already see different kind of programming language, different kind of problem you're trying to solve, you will realize that there are different paradigm as well. Most of programming language that we do is like an imperative programming language where you give instructions line by line to computers gitu kan. And then there are another genre of functional programming where function itself is a data structure gitu. Where function is the first class citizen of data structure, and the mind and thinking to do coding the imperative language and in the functional language is a very different mindset gitu. Terus ada juga yang declarative programming language yang kayak misalnya SQL atau HTML gitu. It's a whole different mindset lagi gitu untuk understand that structure. So other than just different kind of language, there are different kind of programming language paradigms as well gitu. So if you got exposed to this, you know, you will really become like Neo from the Matrix yang benar-benar bisa lihat how all this different and it doesn't really matter again to you gitu.
And is it safe to say kalau kenapa Pak Norman bisa menjadi seorang CTO today is because you had that mindset dari awal? I mean, talking to you seem to know a lot about yang tadi Pak Norman bilang kan. Pak Norman tahu the difference between declarative, functional, imperative, all this kind of stuff. Like, is it safe to say that itulah kenapa Pak Norman bisa di posisi CTO hari ini?
It was very important gitu. But then again, all these technical capabilities, all this engineering, programming, know-how, skill set, and experience is just like a passing grade to be in the next ladder gitu. There are certain skill set that you need to master as well. Gitu, ya. So after you are very solid in the technical skills, programming language tools and framework, also the fundamentals like logic, problem solving, algorithmic thinking, design patterns, architecture, and all those, you really need to master those. And then you need to really sharpen your communication skills. Gitu. Karena chances are you will work with a team. There are peers, there are superiors, there are staff of you that you need to communicate to. So you need to have a good communication skill where you can articulate your thinking, your thoughts gitu. You can differentiate when you talk to a peer technical person and when you talk to business people that don't understand technical at all gitu. Jadi you need to have that capabilities gitu. Yeah, that includes, let's say, presentation skills or public speaking skills karena you will present your ideas to your team, you will present to management to get their buy-in, support, investment, and so forth gitu. Jadi kayak begitu. And then after that, of course, leadership gitu. Jadi it's not about management atau jadi leading of people, tapi it's about driving change gitu. How you step up, you see something good, you have a vision, and then where you are today, and you really want to go there, and you really do action and taking steps to go there, and that may inspire others to follow you. Gitu ya. Jadi you can really drive that change. That is leadership gitu. And then after that, when you move up, maybe you can become a dev lead, you can become an architect gitu ya. Principal engineers, VP manager engineering, VP engineering, and even actually CTO. You need to also have the so-called business acumen gitu. Jadi you need to understand the business aspect. Jadi with all the code you write, with all the system that you build, what does it mean for the business? How those can really support the business goals? How business goals, you can look at it and derive that and make technology strategy and so forth. So there are different layers that you need to master. And again, technical part is just like the fundamental base part. You are so good at that, but you miss all those that I said above that. You will be there forever. Gitu. Jadi that's what's differentiate those yang can climb up and those yang stays there. Sometimes it's just a choice gitu. You really enjoy, you just want to do that part, it is fine juga gitu.
Yeah, I mean kalau kita lihat kan sekarang di Indonesia programmer juga udah ada ratusan ribu ya. Terus I mean like to get to the position of where you are itu kan harus naik dari berapa ratus ribu itu persentase jadi senior, dari situ jadi VP, and then how many jadi CTO, but how many of those CTO are actual CTO of like DANA gitu kan. So I guess for me personally I learn a lot, yaitu kayak di luar the fundamentals of programming tuh harus ada banyak skill set ya, apa having that business mindset, communication skill, leadership skill, having that attractive energy di mana orang tuh juga bisa mau ngikut kamu gitu. So I think itu juga yang valuable, dan di sini teman-teman programmer kita juga bisa ya terapin in our day to day ya.
I give you an example. Gitu. What I did in the past yang kind of like make me singled out from the crowd of my peer programmers gitu ya. So in our company we do project based dulu. So we deliver tailor-made software for different clients gitu. And then back then waktu itu kita pakai .NET. And then di .NET we don't have a standard ORM from Microsoft, Object Relational Mapper, karena di codingnya kan object oriented, sementara database itu relational, so there is an impedance, and usually people using an ORM library to do that gitu. From Microsoft waktu itu belum ada yang official gitu. So there are many in the market, but then open source and stuff like that, but there are flaws and things. So I saw that as an opportunity bahwa if we have an ORM yang .NET based yang I can use, terus ada code generator tools and everything yang can really make the developer of my company job easier and faster and can deliver faster for the client, that will be great. So I spend some time outside my day-to-day work to work on a prototype in my own time gitu, untuk bikin that ORM gitu. I use reflections and a lot of different technique lah back then. Terus nyontek ke Hibernate-nya Java, nyontek ke different kind of other languages punya ORM, and then try to implement that with C#, package it as a library, and then make some code generation tools as well. And then I tell my boss back then, hey, I built this, what do you think? Gitu. Terus I did some demo, so, and then after that, they look at the POC and say, oh, that is awesome. Gitu. Let's really build that with like industry grade, not just a POC kind of library. And then that's what we did. And then after that, the company used that library as our ORM. Gitu. And then everyone happy. The developer are happy, the project manager is happy, the client happy, the company happy. And then after that, they made me architect or principal engineer of the company yang look after all these libraries yang bisa use in many different projects that we do. Gitu. If I did not do that, I will still just writing code on a spec given to me, sitting in the corner, deliver whatever I have to deliver. Jadi my business as usual, my scope of work. Kan sering orang bilang, that is not part of my job description. If you like your job description, you will stuck forever in your job description. Jadi the way to step up adalah it's not given, it's earned. Gitu. Jadi you're not waiting bahwa okay, now you are promoted, now you can do beyond your scope, your job description. So what you need to do is like, if this is your scope, your job description, bump it up and show that you are actually already beyond that. Gitu. Once you have demonstrated that, the company will see and say, okay, you are not that small. You are actually bigger than that. So you are worthy. You earn the promotion. You earn the higher grade, the higher pay, and the higher scope. Gitu. So it will be given to you. Gitu. Jadi, back then I did not, just ask atau wait but I did a POC. I showcase, I demonstrate, the company get the buy-in from the company, and then we do that gitu. So it's just one example, but there are many occasions when I do similar things like that gitu. Karena again, what you need to understand bahwa yang tadi, bahwa kalau mau dipromote, naik pangkat, naik jabatan, get a bigger scope, it is not given gitu. if you just wait, it will not happen. So you need to push the bar gitu. You need to break it. You need to show bahwa you are maturing. That pond is too small for you. You need a bigger pond gitu. Dan that's how you demonstrate that gitu. From technical capabilities kayak misalnya tadi ya, build a library, build anything gitu. Nah jadi you can look at the toughest technical problems yang your team, your company is facing, and make an attempt to attack that problem. And if your attempt or your POC or prototype actually work, get your manager's time and showcase that, demo that to them, and get the buy-in. Again, when you want to get the buy-in, it's not just the tools, right? It's the communication, the articulations. That's why that matters gitu. Nah, after that, then you can climb up gitu. So the more you do that, the more aggressive you are in that, makanya bisa naik gitu kan. Dan kalau tadi dibilang ada ratusan ribu programmer, nggak semua naik ya karena the majority don't have that mindset.
Yeah, that's a great takeaway. Itu bagus banget ya. Which is, I think there's one phrase yang benar-benar cocok banget ya, which is every problem is an opportunity. Ya kan, jadi salah satu takeaway yang kita sebagai engineer, developer, maybe we can try to find, kayak tadi yang tadi Pak Norman bilang, which is kalau ada problem in your team, ya kan, tapi jangan find the problem doang gitu, execute it, ya kan, try to find the solution, not only find it tapi build it, ya kan, dan you gotta earn your spot. Itu I think that's a very very good takeaway sih dari ini. Wow, thank you so much for sharing Pak. Okay, ini there's no way aku bakal selesai semua pertanyaan aku sih. So I think one more pertanyaan dari aku before we move on to the Q&A yang udah diambil dari audience kita ya. So mungkin something that I'm really curious is siapa tokoh yang menginspire Pak Norman dan why?
Specific in programming or in general?
I think in general. I mean, to get you this far. To this point.
So when I was in school, I was really into mathematics and physics. So like I really look up to guys like Hawking, like Einstein, Newton, these guys. So that is why as well waktu lulus SMA, I took physics as my uni degree gitu, because I really love that gitu. Terus regarding the tech part, entrepreneurship. So I was really attracted after I read an article about Silicon Valley back then, and then I got exposed to Bill Gates, Steve Jobs. So these two guys really, like my teenage days hero. I really want to be like them, gitu kan. So that is why I was started to learn programming in high school, because after I reading about Microsoft and Apple, I just want to become like them juga gitu. And then as the time grows, I still really look up to these guys gitu. And then of course the newer generation like Larry and Sergey from Google gitu ya. I really look up to these guys as well. And I really inspired by them gitu. Terus outside the academic physics, mathematics, or engineering, there are other guys yang really inspires me as well. I was really inspired by astronauts, the guys yang like really dare to go to the space and do that work. And then I also inspired by people in the special forces, the guys in the Navy SEALs, the guys in the Green Beret, and so for the Delta Force. So because they have that mindset that I really look up to, that I really want to be like them. That strong mental composure mindset is something that I think that helps me a lot in my career outside the technical capabilities. And also some figure in sports, usually in MMA, in jiu-jitsu, and also in CrossFit. So I look up to some athletes as well, and I'm also into music. So there are some musicians that I really like because of their talents, their musical products, and then Yeah. So a lot. I learn different things from different people in different fields, and try to incorporate and try to make an analogy and adapt that and try to apply to whatever I'm doing gitu. Jadi is it in my job, is it in life, or is it in sport gitu. Jadi yeah, I compete in the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and grappling competitions gitu. I competed at national level gitu. So yeah, I think that learning, that philosophy that I got from that field is also applicable in life and also in job gitu. So I also do CrossFit in the last few years. I compete as well, and this year I was named the fittest man in Indonesia in my age group. So
amazing.
Yeah, there are some philosophies that I got from that I can apply in work as well as in life gitu. Jadi I think my advice to programmers, maybe you should not just like really look and like benchmark to other programmers, more senior programmers, but try look at different fields altogether gitu. Try look at biology, economy, movie, sports, music, and try to look at how the successful guys in that field can really made it gitu. And then take what they have and try to apply that in your field gitu. Karena the capabilities untuk take something from other field, adapt that, and try to implement that in your field is a whole different skill set that is called abstraction. So if you don't have that abstraction capability gitu ya, untuk take a generalization of two different things that looks very different, but you can see there are some aspect yang very similar. Nah, that generalization and abstraction is part of the skill set that is required by a programmer gitu. Karena kan you look at like a real world problem kayak misalnya payment, banking, customers, transaction and so forth, itu that concept into a concept of class, objects, function. So it's a whole different world, but how do you map that? How do you transfer that and try to implement that gitu. Jadi that skill set untuk bisa doing analogi from other different fields will really do good for you gitu. Try to like train that a lot gitu.
Well, one thing for sure, saya yakin misalnya ada orang di mall gitu, mungkin pas-pasan sama Pak Norman, mereka nggak akan kira kalau Pak Norman ini adalah seorang geek, programmer, ataupun CTO gitu ya. Who knows so much about like the technical space. Tapi, I wish we have more time, Pak. Tapi we can go dive. Tapi kayak, we have to go through some of the questions yang kita udah prepare. Oke, dari Alda. I guess ini untuk beginner ya. Tips untuk memahami logika ngoding. Oh, sorry, I didn't share my screen. Okay, there you go. Oke, jadi dari Alda, tips untuk memahami logika ngoding. Gitu. Mungkin try answer that.
So balik lagi, at the end of the day, what you're trying to do is problem solving. So you really need to understand the problem. Usually, I introduce variable to represent that problem, gitu. And then once I have the variables and I try to measure it and try to express that in numbers, gitu. Nah, nanti kalau udah kayak gitu, kita bisa dengan mudah untuk melihat relationship between variables gitu. Jadi variabel A berhubungan dengan variabel B, kalau variabel B berubah, variabel C juga akan impacted gitu. Terus nanti kita punya target, oke, kita variabel B harus mencapai angka tertentu, variabel C harus mencapai angka tertentu. Terus ada constraint nggak, persyaratan yang harus dipenuhi gitu. Terus kemudian logical flow-nya bakal seperti apa gitu. Jadi my first attempt when I look at problems adalah try to understand problemnya, try to introduce variables and put that variables in numbers so that I can clearly see what is going on, relationship between variables. Baru I try to code it gitu ya. Jadi kebayang gitu. Dan setiap kali kita coding kan most of the time what we do is we create a function gitu. Kita take an input and we need to produce an output. So
Yep.
Let's see, all the inputs adalah variabel apa aja yang perlu kita take gitu. Do we have everything untuk bisa produce the output, atau from the input ini kita mesti do some manipulation dulu baru kita bisa produce outputnya. So at the function level, that is the minimal thing yang we should do gitu. Tapi kalau at the higher level, mungkin ya kita mesti pikirin bahwa mungkin yang tadi, let's say kita doing object oriented programming, so konsep in real world-nya kita harus bikin abstraction-nya dulu, kita bikin jadi kelas, jadi objek, kelas atau objek apa aja yang perlu ada di kita punya code. Itu juga ada satu disiplin yang namanya domain driven design yang you really need to understand gitu. Jadi mapping antara real world object domain dengan kelas atau objek domain di programming language itu mesti ada gitu. Nah, jadi once you have that representation of real world in your programming language as objects and relation between objects, yeah, you can then define the methods or the properties of each object gitu kan. Dan methods atau function ya yang tadi, what is the input, what is the output gitu. Dan usually ya mungkin the input not just simple variables, tapi mungkin some properties of some other object gitu. Jadi intinya that's how you usually dissect it.
Oke. Next question dari pemuda coding. Sebagai programmer, bagaimana mendapatkan networking atau relasi yang baik?
So attend sessions like this is one way to go. Gitu ya. Mungkin nanti after this teman-teman bisa just connect to me through LinkedIn. Just find me in LinkedIn and then add. And then we can have a chance to, let's say, discuss further gitu kan. In other social media as well. You can find me in Instagram, you can find me in Twitter. I'm also in TikTok, so find that. And what you can really do is so there are many different communities, right? Communities of programming language, communities of particular interest. So join that communities and learn them. Itu ask questions, answer others punya questions. So you can even build your credibility there gitu. Jadi that's how you network. That's how you steal attention from like more senior people gitu ya. Terus maybe you want to join any open source project, you contribute there. That also can give you like a solid networking as well gitu.
Yep. Yeah, I think those are really good advice. Okay. Next dari IATR 107. Karena perubahan dan pengembangan teknologi semakin meningkatnya yang begitu cepat, maka hal apa saja yang harus dilakukan agar dapat menyesuaikan lebih cepat ketika kita harus jadi seorang full stack dev dalam berketerampilan serta bermindset yang benar untuk mengejar dalam pengembangan teknologi. I think ini lebih kayak ke arah how do we keep up ya? How do we keep up with evolving new technologies all the time? Especially I think untuk Pak Norman ya sebagai CTO, like how do you keep up gitu amongst the other millions things that you have to do and all your other hobbies? Kayak gimana cara Pak Norman tuh bisa up to date gitu with the latest and greatest technology?
Yeah. So the keyword is continuous learning gitu. Jadi when you pick this field, gitu, the consequences are you will never stop learning gitu. That is the reality yang mesti really sink in gitu. You need to realize that if learning is not something you like to do, this field is not for you gitu. You will find hard time, you will be irrelevant gitu. Others yang have that passion and capability to learn will crush you gitu. So kalau kalian pikir bahwa udah lulus kuliah nih, udah asik, udah nggak perlu belajar lagi, tinggal pakai apa yang udah kita pelajari di kuliah, then maybe you will survive for 2-3 years, 5 years max. Habis itu you will become a dinosaur already gitu. You will be irrelevant gitu. So you need to keep learning. Jadi the keyword is to keep learning. Jadi do you have that patience to always learn? Do you have the capabilities to learn fast juga gitu? And do you actually do learning gitu? Dan sometimes in dunia programming, learning itu bukan just about reading gitu, but doing gitu. Jadi sama kayak swimming lah. You cannot be good at swimming by reading a book about swimming. You need to swim gitu. Coding juga gitu. Reading about coding, not enough. You need to do coding gitu ya. So seperti itu. And for me, yeah, that's what I do. Gitu. I learn. There are fields that I really love to explore. Gitu ya. So in technology, I also open mind to learn other things outside technology. Balik lagi buat yang tadi untuk si analogy and abstraction. And what I really focus more on learning now is to really look at one, best practice in the industry, and two, the new emerging technologies yang coming. Gitu. Jadi my angle will be more on how this will be relevant for me, how I can take an opportunity to tap into that technology or best practice to be applied in my company so that we can serve our customer better, atau we can save costs because of that, atau making us more productive, more efficient, whatever goal is that there is. So more on that, and then also or let's say if there are new technologies yang coming yang can make us irrelevant atau less competitive gitu. Jadi my focus really more on what I can adopt to make me more competitive as a company, and what should I watch yang can make my company nggak kompetitif atau irrelevant. So more on that angle. Jadi about what I can adopt atau what I need to watch gitu. So yeah, at my level right now, maybe I will only look at the high level conceptual aspect of that. Maybe to some degrees, some technical gitu. At least I can just use my logic to comprehend that. But at the execution level in the field, I have my team who will actually really implement that at the field level. Gitu. Jadi they will be usually very far more technical when they deep dive into a particular field gitu. Kayak misalnya, let's say we want to do graph machine learning. Jadi machine learning tapi data structure-nya pakai graph. So I understand what is a graph. I understand what is machine learning. I understand, okay, that's how they should work together. And then my team will actually figure out misalnya how to implement that as an example. Gitu.
Tapi Shirley kalau udah di posisi Pak Norman ini, I don't know, kayak ini aku benar-benar curious aja sih. Like, is the problems that you face di Dana itu, apakah itu masih Googleable gitu loh? Do you just like Google it, atau do you actually talk with like other like experts surrounding you? Because the more you talk and the more you get, right? I'm just ini curious. This is just pure curiosity sih dari aku.
Yeah, so there are some sources that I read that is actually credible sources gitu ya. So stuff from the analyst usually atau some research gitu. And then I discuss with my peers as well, technical peers in other companies gitu ya, in the same industry, and also my peers in the management in the company from other departments, so that I understand their view, their perspective, and so forth gitu. Jadi so whenever we have problems, if it's kind of like a solved problems atau it's been solved by someone somewhere, we may want to adopt that solution and try to implement that and adjust as needed because their constraints, their situation may be different from us gitu kan. Jadi we need to adapt. So if it's, we cannot really find someone else face the problem to solve the problem, then yeah, we experiment ourselves gitu. But then, yes, it is true. It's not as simple as, like how to boxing or unboxing a variable from different kind of memory storage gitu kan. So it's not like that. Yeah. So the problem statement usually at a very high level. For an example, how do I set up a hybrid cloud between on-premise and public cloud yang economic dan secure tapi high performance. So you can Google, but you need to like put many different perspective, right? So
kayak nggak mungkin dong kita Google how to handle 700 complete transactions per second gitu kan, nggak mungkin keluar. Okay, ini by the way aku udah diomelin nih. Apparently I skipped a question dari Nadianis. Bagaimana cara belajar yang lebih tepat? Apakah lebih baik bottom up atau top down approach?
So At different stage, mungkin we need to learn with different style also in our understanding and maturity in a certain field gitu. When you're about to entering a new field, it is better to understand the basics, the fundamentals, because it gives you a good grasp to understand a more complex concept or terms yang lebih advance gitu. Jadi start with like level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, and so forth gitu ya. Once you really already understand that and you now want to learn a certain aspect in that field, once you have that fundamentals understanding, you can dive deep out in any different level gitu. Once you have that understanding. Jadi learning, sometimes you want to get into a new field, you need a bottom-up approach, and learning when you want to try to solve problems, usually it's a top-down approach. Jadi you have a particular problem, and then you try to Google it to find the answer, and you learn sambil jalan gitu. Okay, this is how I should do it. Oh, I don't understand one aspect of that, then I turun lagi untuk understand that aspect. Oh, ada lagi yang belum dimengerti, turun lagi. Nah, biasanya in the kalau purpose-nya untuk problem solving, I think it's more on top down. Jadi start from the problem to find out what I really need to know, need to understand. Tapi kalau you really just want to get a grasp of a new field, karena misalnya mungkin kalian sebelumnya a developer, an engineer, now you want to get into data science world, gitu. Maybe you want to learn the ABC of data science first. Jadi you need to have a good enough more understanding of the basic concepts, gitu. Baru habis itu try to solve problems, di situ baru kita top down.
Yeah, I think Pak Norman, you managed to summarize it really well ya, which is kalau problem solving start from top down ya. Kalau when you're trying to learn something new, you go bottom up. Itu it's something that I think me myself have been implementing, tapi aku belum pernah put it in a nice sentence aja gitu. Okay, maybe sorry ini kita udah lewat 10 menit Pak. I'm so sorry, tapi maybe one more question ya Pak.
Ya.
Oke, dari Joshua, bagaimana agar memiliki logika yang baik dalam dunia IT?
Okay. So logic is a skill gitu. Logic itu can be learned. Logic can be trained gitu. So the only way to have a good logic is to train your logic gitu. Jadi try to solve more problems gitu. Jadi try solve problems yourself and also look at others and learn from others on how they approach and solve that problem gitu. Jadi dari situ kita bisa asah gitu ya. Jadi just like our body gitu kan, we do exercise gitu to make our body stronger, healthier, have certain skill set gitu misalnya. You need to do the same to your brain gitu, to your thinking, your capabilities di area itu gitu. Jadi the only way to improve your logic adalah ya try to solve problems gitu. Ya, train it gitu. Do more of that dan pasti kepake gitu.
Benar.
Selama nggak mikir, lama nggak dipakai solve problem, bakal jadi tumpul, tetap harus diasah lagi gitu.
Yeah. Okay, I think that's a good way to end the talk ya Pak. Okay, sekali lagi, it's been a really great 1 hour. It doesn't feel like an hour. Thank you so much Pak for sharing your insight dan juga particularly your journey ya, yang bisa relate saya rasa dengan banyak orang di sini. Kita semua kan we're at an early point in our life where we're still trying to figure out juga untuk banyak programmer di sini. So I think your story bisa jadi a beacon of inspiration ya untuk kita semua di sini Pak. Mungkin sebelum kita wrap up and close the show, mungkin ada final words yang mau disampaikan dari Pak Norman untuk para programmer di Indonesia.
Yeah, so usually I use this advice. I give this advice many times in different occasions, but I think this is very important for you to be competitive and to win in the competition gitu ya, to really become someone, to really do something. Jadi gini, you need to put in the work gitu. Jadi Kita sering dengar pepatah bilang we should work smart, not work hard, gitu kan. I agree completely, gitu ya. If you work smart, you will be very efficient, gitu. Nah, the thing is, in today's world, di 2021, everyone is smart. Everyone has access to knowledge through internet. Everyone have access to technologies. Jadi, terus everyone copy ideas from everyone. Everyone steal ideas from everyone. Jadi, smartness is a commodity. Everyone is equally smart. So, thing yang can really make the difference adalah if you work harder, gitu. Jadi work smart can give you an advantage, gitu. If everyone else is dumb and they just work hard. But in a situation where everyone smart, gitu, and you don't work hard, the ones who work the hardest will become the winner. So don't get lazy to work hard, gitu. Put in the work, gitu ya. Hard work pays off, gitu ya. Jadi don't over glorify the work smart, ya, karena everyone is smart. Jadi don't get lazy to put in the work. Sometimes people just use that term work smart, not work hard, just as an excuse because they don't want to work hard, gitu. Jadi have that mindset, gitu, bahwa of course you need to work smart, gitu, but then put in the work.
Put in the work. Wow. Wow. That's amazing advice. I think we could sound clip that and turn it into like a soundbite people can hear over and over again. Okay, wow. Thank you so much, Pak Norman. Kita udah lewat waktu banget. I just want to say thank you to the whole team yang udah managed to get the two of us together in the same conference call. Dan juga definitely thank you semua ke para audience yang udah datang hadir. I think we've had a steady of like around 60 views per any second. So that's amazing. Once again, thank you so much, Pak Norman, and I wish you all the best in your future career, Pak.
You too. Thank you very much, Peter.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.